in with what Greg is saying is that I felt like this time of year, churches around the world, there's either people doing fasts for God or New Year's resolutions. And New Year resolutions in themselves aren't bad things. They're not bad things. But it's when we think, if I can do this, then I'm going to obtain life by them. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you see that time and time again. And I felt like God, you often think, God, what are you going to do this year? And I felt like God was saying it's the same as what's always been. And it's always tied up in His Son and Jesus and who we are. That it's God with us. And I the other day I was flicking through Psalms, and like what Greg was saying about David being a prophetic statement, and often in the Psalms that he's writing, that he's prophetically declaring of something that is going to take place, and that's through Jesus. And it's right at the end of Psalm 16, and it basically says this, and it says that you will lead me in the way of life, and that in your presence is fullness of joy, and at your right hand is treasures forevermore. And I felt like God just pinpointed those three things. That firstly, that the gospel is about that He will lead you into the path of life, who is Jesus. That it's His doing. That this morning we may be thinking that I've got this idea that I'm not right with God, or I've got to get this sorted out in my life, or I've got to have these things in place in order that I may have life. And I felt like God said that it's Him who will bring us into the path of life, and He's going to do that more and more and more. And then the verse goes on to says that in His presence is fullness of joy. I want to tell you this morning that yes, there's all these things in this life that promise you joy. There's all these things in this life that promise you that if you obtain to this, then you will find fullness of joy. And I want to say that in God Himself is joy Himself, and that's what He's leading us into more and more and more, that in His presence is fullness of joy. And then at the end of that verse it says that at His right hand is treasures forevermore. Who's at His right hand? One, Jesus.
Yeah.
But secondly, we are in Christ, that you are seated in Christ. So I want to say this year, if you want to say what is a prophetic word for this year, it's more of the same. It's glorious, it's wonderful. It's Jesus, and that it's your life. It's in Him, and it's by His doing, not your doing. And that you will find such incredible joy and peace and presence, that in that fullness of joy, that in that place, it is beyond your wildest dreams. And also that at His right hand, where you are, is treasures forevermore.